Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode number 12 of this webcast, Fall to Rise. I'm your host, James Brown, and tonight we have an interesting one. Tonight's episode is about homelessness, and more especially surviving homelessness. Homelessness is such a unique subject because people tend to misjudge people that are homeless. They tend to not understand the lifestyle. They at times tend to not understand that they're one situation away from being homeless themselves. Tonight, I have three amazing guests. My first guest is Miss LaRita Phelps. Hello, LaRita. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Now, before we start, I have to ask everyone, if you haven't already, please mute your screens or your phones, just so that no one goes through, because we are recording this. We will have a question and answer section at the end. So if you have any questions, concerns, we'll definitely open up to everyone at the end. All right? All right, LaRita.
Yeah.
It's all right. Don't be nervous.
Of course I am.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. Believe it or not, your story is going to help a lot of people. So it's all right. It's all right. All right. Your situation is an interesting one to me, especially when you told me that you've dealt with homelessness. You know, people they often look at someone and they'll say, well, you know what? You don't look like the type that would have ever dealt with this. You know, just looking at you now, when you told me, oh, yeah, I've dealt with homelessness. I said, what? Yeah, right. Whatever. You know, and even when I speak to you, you wouldn't think that you were the type that ever dealt with it. But, you know, as have many people in your situation, you've dealt with it. How did it happen? How did you initially become homeless?
Situation came where we weren't on a lease for an apartment.
Okay.
And my grandmother, my children and I lived with my grandmother.
Sure.
Or we lived together, you know, in housing, New York City housing.
Sure.
And she tried to add us on. They gave her a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
She wound up leaving the state. And we still fought to get put onto the lease. They weren't interested because of the size of the apartment. They just wanted us out. And she passed away. And when she passed away, left the state, we were fighting for about 2 years for the apartment. I paid the rent in months in advance, went back and forth to their magistrate or whatever, and they just never were interested in giving us a lease. So we wind up losing and physically, you know, fighting the marshals coming and physically evicting us. We got evicted on April 14th, 2018, physically.
Oh, wow.
The 13th. And it was embarrassing, to say the least. My kids lost a lot of stuff because we just weren't able to physically get everything out. But from the time that we got the appeal approved from the time that we got the appeal rejected the last time from the marshals, from them physically coming, we just didn't have time to get everything out. And we wound up losing a lot of stuff. But things were, you know, irreplaceable. At the time I was unemployed. I'm still technically don't have a conventional job because I got hurt on the job. I got injured. I fell on some ice, hurt my back, but I was still maintaining the rent. And just, you know, life happened. I lost pretty much everything in one shot. You know, first it was my health, then it was my job, then it was the apartment, then it was my car. It was like everything happened within a year, maybe a few months' time. And luckily, a family member, my best friend's sister, took us in.
Oh, wow.
And she put us up, me, my 3 children, and 2 kittens, in her niece's bedroom. And her niece was away at college. And her niece came home, and she was like, you know, TT Rita, don't worry about it. We're family. Don't worry about it. So she wound up going somewhere else while we stayed in her bedroom while we looked for an apartment. We wound up finding an apartment while she was away back at college over the Christmas, you know, right before Christmas break. And the day I was supposed to pick up my keys, the landlord backed out. Wow. Because the girl who showed us the apartment wasn't doing things on the up and up. And she lied about a lot of stuff. She wasn't reachable. I couldn't reach her. He couldn't reach her. It's now been 2 years and I still haven't spoken to her with no explanation. And I pleaded with him to not do this because we had no place to go. And I was actually having weight loss surgery the very next day. So while I'm in recovery in the hospital, I'm pleading with this guy, please, you know, can we just work something out? You know, I had a voucher. He was going to get I believe it was 4 or 5 months full rent. Plus, he was basically about to get about $17,000.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, let me talk to my wife. But because of this girl lying, and he said that somebody forged his signature, supposedly, on the lease, because he said I would never agree to a 2-year lease. Though he said to me, I want you to be in this house for years. It was the house that I thought was of my, that I was meant to be in. And God had a different plan. Okay. And when we lost that lease, maybe 2 weeks later, we had to vacate the room. Unfortunately, her niece was coming back home, and she said she didn't have the heart to tell her she doesn't get her room back.
Wow.
So talking to a deacon at my church, my pastor, we tried to make moves, and nothing worked out in my favor. And we wound up having to, me and my 3 children, take 2 bags that we could carry each, going up to the Bronx from Staten Island to Path, which is the main place that you go to for homeless families.
Yes.
And it was a nightmare. I was very depressed. It was like, this is not something that you just want to have to happen with your 3 kids. At the time, my son was 16, my youngest was 10, and my oldest was 20 or 20. So it was heart-wrenching to go there. The first day I went, I didn't go with the kids, and they said, you got to come back with the kids. And I was like, oh, okay. And I broke down leaving the building, and the security guard was like, baby, it happens to anybody. I was in a shelter. So, it won't, don't let this break you. Come back, get yourself together, be strong for your kids. And I had to come back that next day, and we were in that place for a full 24 hours, and they placed us in an overnight place in the Bronx, brought us back the next day, and then we were placed all the way out, away from everybody that we knew, away from our life on Staten Island, way out, like 3 hours public transportation away from our lives. And so it was heart-wrenching. It was excruciatingly depressing for all of us. We all were traumatized. We had to get separated from our kittens, which were emotional support creatures for me.
Wow.
And it was a traumatic situation. And we all, found out that we have PTSD and anxiety, dealing with depression. My youngest, we found out, was didn't know how to deal with my grandmother's death and everything that was going on. So busy checking on us and making sure we were okay, she was holding a lot of stuff in, and we found out she was self-mutilating. So that was the most.
I think you froze for a second. We're having a quick technical difficulty. I'm not sure if you lost your video. While we're working on getting LaRita back on, I hope that everyone kind of realizes how fast this can happen. LaRita, you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we got you. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
So, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
A lot of family, I was too embarrassed to tell anybody. Only a handful of people knew.
Sure.
Because I was like, I had my best friend actually said, someone said to him, how the hell did LaRita let that happen?
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, so did you defend me? Like, why were they that comfortable talking to you? You know what I mean? So I couldn't understand it. And, life just continued, per se. Finding an apartment in Staten Island, in New York City, period, with a voucher is hard, because people have a stereotype with people with vouchers.
Sure. It's so weird, because it's like you just had a series of unfortunate events happening back to back to back to back, and then you're doing it with children. You said that your children developed depression, PTSD, and a few other emotional issues from this, right?
Yeah, well, we had a lot of things that were going on for those 3 or 4 years that just triggered one thing after the other, but it came to the surface when we, going into the shelter system. They do a psychosocial, which is when they pretty much see where you are psychologically. They do a test on a scale of 1 to whatever it was. And my oldest daughter, her anxiety on a scale of, I think, 1 to 10 was like an 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they can go that high. That's
yeah. And then my dealing with it was locking myself in the bathroom. I just didn't want to deal with the world, and I was embarrassed. Sure. Like I said, I was very embarrassed. So it was a lot to deal with. But go Go ahead.
Mhm. No, I'm sorry. I was going to ask, did you have any emotional support from anyone? Was there anyone that you can just call up and maybe cry to or talk to or vent? Someone that can give you advice during that time?
Yes and no.
Okay.
A lot of people just didn't understand it because they weren't in my situation.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They may have tried to lend a helping hand or an ear, but, you know, I had people say, oh, well, you know, you being in the system, it'll help you find something quick. No, but that's not the reality of it. And they didn't understand the psychological damage that it does. You know, they were just like, oh, you'll get Section 8. No, absolutely not. First of all,
Yeah.
Section 8's been closed for 2 years and only open to veterans right now.
Oh, wow.
It's not that simple. Getting a voucher is not that simple. Like I said, most properties don't take vouchers. As far as emotional help, I had a handful of people.
Okay.
And again, they just didn't understand. There's nobody really understood what we were going through. How could they?
And then you have the stigma associated with it of being homeless, which makes it a lot more difficult. Now, when we think of people that are homeless, we often think of them living out on the streets. Were you ever in that situation, or did you have a physical location that you were able to live in during this time?
Thank God, I've never been physically out on the streets. And a big part of that is because of me going to PATH. I don't remember exactly what PATH stands for, but this particular, it's part of the Department of Homeless Services. And for families, that's where you go first to get placed. And because I have children, having children made it easier for me to be placed in a safe place. So, yeah, I never had to be on the street or anything. Thank goodness.
Now, what are some of the issues that you actually had to deal with? Well, I'm actually going to get back to that question. Now, what type of location were you living in? Was it a shelter? Was it a women's shelter? Was it a hotel? What type of location were you living in?
It's an old motel.
Okay.
So they took a motel and it, just like a regular hotel, motel, Holiday Inn type of situation. Yeah, and they took a motel. It still has, its name per se on the front. So a lot of people don't know what it is. If you don't know, then you don't know. Just simply passing, you don't know what it is, because we're also a safe haven, which I discovered after the fact of, being in that position, in that place where there's a lot of undocumented. So you can't even find that shelter looking it up as a location because it is a safe haven.
Wow. So
yeah, for battered women as well as immigrants.
So with this location, do you have your own room? Do you have your own bathrooms, your own kitchen, your own facilities?
Well, we do have our own bedroom, our own bathrooms. It was just renovated before we were placed. So we have a kitchenette, which is, it includes a sink, cabinets, mini fridge, microwave, and like a hot plate type of stove. So we can prepare our own meals. Beforehand, right? They said months before, we were placed there, they had meals delivered. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's a good thing. So how exactly do you get your meals? Do you, because you're not working right now, so do you get food stamps? Do they deliver food to you? Do you have to kind of rely on the generosity of others? How have you gotten your meals?
Well, because you go into the shelter system, you are required to have public assistance. It's not an option here in New York. It's not. It's I was on my way to getting off because I do get workers' comp for getting hurt. I am an entrepreneur, working for myself and my family to build a legacy. So I'm building income. But when we first got placed, I was forced to put my daughter back on to my case. I was forced to maintain. I didn't have public assistance. I received zero cash. So going into the system, that's not an option here in New York. I don't know about anywhere else, but in New York, the state of New York, you are not given an option to not have public assistance. So we did have food stamps. When we first got here, we didn't know the neighborhood because literally there's nothing over here. You can't walk to a bodega. So like the closest store, it was quite expensive.
Well, let me just clarify. There are those that are not from the Northeast. So for those of you that do not know, that is a convenience store. Some of you may not know that. In Brooklyn, where I'm from, we call that a corner store.
Yeah.
But for people in other parts of the country, that may be your Wawa, your 7-Elevens, or I'm not sure what other stores they have in other parts of the country. But yes, that is what a bodega is. Just had to clarify.
Yeah, corner store.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Good, I'm sorry.
New York, So we wound up learning the neighborhood and discovered several supermarkets that are not extra, highly priced, because that first small supermarket, $75 for like nothing, for like 8 TV dinners, a case of water, and I think a couple of loaves of bread. It was like 70, 60, $75. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever tried, during that time, did you ever go to like food pantries where they would give away food?
We didn't discover any food pantries until months later, maybe a year later.
Okay.
We did go to the food pantries. Going to my church back and forth to Staten Island, when we were able to, when we had a vehicle or whatever, they did, when we had community dinners, they would, hey, LaRita, you want to take some extra food home? So, things like that. So we would do that as well. And then my aunt was the pastor of a church before she passed on Staten Island. So we would go there every so often when we could manage to bring the food back. But we managed. We found a way. And, before we realized where the stores were, we were ordering out because we just didn't know where anything was. They have menus at the front desk.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So with the hotel that you're staying at, or the location, is it like one room? Is it kind of like one room that you're all staying in, or is it broken up into a suite? Or is it just one large ballroom?
It's not large at all. There's zero privacy. It's a small room. It's I wouldn't even say it's an average size room. Like if you've ever stayed in like a Motel 6, it may be around that size, if not smaller, because it literally has a cabinet for a dresser, a table with 2 chairs, and 2 sets of bunk beds.
And how many of you have to fit in a room that size?
4.
4. Okay.
4 of us, but there are families that had more. So I don't even know how big the other rooms were or are, because there are 2 different buildings with 3 floors each.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. So I know being in that room, I know it makes you all nice and cozy. So you all know each other a little bit more than you want to. So.
Pretty much. The only privacy is going to the bathroom.
Oh, of course. And I'm pretty sure nobody wants to follow anybody else in there.
No.
Now, with living in this location, what is it like? Do you have to go in? Do you have to sign in when you get in? Do you have to do paperwork? Do you have to submit to drug tests? Walk me through what the process is like for you to check into your home.
Okay. When first arriving, you did a bunch of paperwork.
Sure.
You have to do like bios, like I said, the psychosocials. They need birth certificates and social security cards for everyone. You do have to sign in and out every day. Every time you leave, you have to sign in and out. You have to ask permission to as an adult, you have to ask permission to leave for more than 48 hours. And they feel like if you have somewhere to go for 48 hours, then why are you there? The children, even though the children could stay out for an amount of time, like my son went on a college tour and they were gone for a week. Because he was a minor, they just needed the information of where he was going, who he was with, and the contact information and locations of where they were going. But the kids get more freedom than the adults. The adults, you kind of, it's 48 hours. Different. If you're not there, they're ready to check you out.
Wow.
They're ready to discharge you. So it's and they have a 9 o'clock curfew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a 9 o'clock curfew that you feel like you're in jail. I mean, I've never been to jail, but you feel like you're in a prison, and the case manager's like, listen, this is not jail. You won't get kicked out for not making the curfew, but try to make the curfew. But being there, being in the shelter in that particular location for a certain amount of time, you'll learn, okay, you can go and come. Like if you are about your business and you're actively looking for a place to live, they really don't bother you.
Okay.
You keep they inspect where you live to make sure it's clean. They'll tell you, okay, you need to declutter, or you need to, that's not acceptable. Can't have, like, it's like everything is micromanaged. It's aggravating.
So they can go into your room and they were able to inspect your room?
Absolutely. And I found out that they were coming into the room when I wasn't here.
Wow. And
I found that out because I had a sign for the kids near the door saying, if there's garbage, take it out when you leave. And like, it was like a little, mommy type of, petty sign near the door. And my case manager was like, oh, by the way, I like that sign you made. I was like, how did you see that? And I found out they come in your room for inspections when you're not there. Doesn't matter. It's not your property. It's not your room. It's not your apartment. And they made it very clear it's your unit. and it does not belong
Wow.
to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting, to say the least. That's really, really interesting. Hang on one sec. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any other concerns while you're there, like security? You ever have to worry about, worrying about your things going missing, worrying about someone breaking into your complex, worrying about, because to be honest, we've seen certain people that are homeless that have certain mental health issues or
Mm-hmm.
violent tendencies. Is that a fear that you have or something that you have to worry about while living in this location?
At first, it was because I've heard the horror
Okay.
stories, but
Sure.
no,
Okay.
I didn't bring anything of value. And if we had anything of value, like my daughter had a saxophone, she played an instrument. We
Mm-hmm.
had devices. We hid them when we left the room, or we took them with us.
Wow.
But you get one key. You're not allowed to copy the key to give them to your kids or wherever. You're the only, like, there's one key per unit, period. And then of course security has a key that can go into any unit. But there's been nothing where anything's gone missing, though I've heard that people have lost or, had iPhones or iPads disappear because they left their door open. You don't have a key. They're outside on the playground with the kids and they leave their door open because somebody might have left and has the key with them, and they just leave it open or propped open so they can get back in and don't have to ask security to open the door. So
Wow.
that's been instances when I've heard things have gone missing. But no, I mean, the security it's pretty okay. It's safe.
Well, that's definitely a good thing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
were there any issues that you saw being in there? Like, did you see people having major mental health issues? People, having breakdowns? I know that you said that you had that within your own household, but did you see that out there? See people that, may make you nervous, the type where you say, you know what, I don't want to be next to this person because I don't know what they're going to do.
No, we had one
No.
female. She acted out. I like to call it little hood, little ratchet, because she would try to get things accomplished by acting irate and ignorant.
Sure.
It didn't do nothing but make her look bad.
Okay.
I think they probably placed everyone here who weren't on the verge of having any type of violent tendencies, or their psychiatric health was in a healthy state where they wouldn't cause harm to anyone or themselves. People have been discharged, and there's been fights.
Sure.
Um, being bored per se, because we don't have a television. I chose not to bring a television, even though you're allowed a television up to 19 inches. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get comfortable. This ain't home.
Sure.
This happens to be where we rest our head. It's definitely not home. So we've seen some entertainment of fights and stuff, but no, there's no danger. People have smoked marijuana or weed, or however you want to call it, on the premises and have gotten in trouble.
Okay.
But no, there's no real situation. We were blessed to be placed where we were.
So if anyone comes in there and let's just say they're smoking or they drink alcohol or they're under the influence, does that automatically get them kicked out?
It can, and there's no alcohol allowed on the premises. No.
Oh wow.
No type of substance controlled otherwise. Even if you have a prescription, I don't know how that would work. But cigarettes, you have to be, there's a playground, so you can't smoke in the sitting areas. You can't smoke near the playgrounds. You can't smoke where the entrances are. But yeah, there's nothing, like that. Like I've seen a little girl. Unfortunately, she would come in inebriated, where I believe I was told that she was 14, if that old, and they carried her in. They were carrying her in. She was very undermanaged by her mom. Her mom couldn't control her. She kept running away. She wound up just leaving. They wound up just sending her to her dad in California. So that's the only time I've ever seen anything really crazy. I think if you got irate, they would definitely tell you have to go. Because they don't, the case managers and the head person here, they don't tolerate it at all.
Wow. I mean, I guess that's good in terms of security, but it's also bad because it doesn't give you a chance to slip up at all. Because I'm pretty sure that going through a situation, you probably need to drink every so often, or you probably need to smoke every so often.
Well, smoking on the premises, you can do what you want when you're not here.
Sure.
But you get warnings. You don't get kicked out straight off the back unless it's something really over the top and really violent and you're putting somebody else in danger.
Sure.
You get warnings first. You get talked to and you get warnings first. They don't just put you straight out.
Okay.
And they don't transfer you somewhere else. They give you a chance to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you spoke earlier about some of the mental health issues that you and your your children experienced, you said, I believe, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and self-mutilation, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you or your children have these issues before you lost your home?
I did, because as a child, well, most of my life, I dealt with physical, emotional, and sexual abuse from a family member, actually several family members. Most of my friends and closest family don't know more than just my stepfather. They don't know the other two. Yeah, so that was things that I had to deal with. And working in the mental health field, I was never able to get help. So I just had to deal with it. My kids, my younger two, my son and my youngest daughter, I didn't know. I never saw anything. My oldest one, no, they were never diagnosed. You know, they were traumatized when me and their dad split, and it reflected in their grades. But yeah, they were normal kids to me. You know, they never really showed or displayed any mental issues at all until we were assessed. And that's when they were like, okay, listen, this is what it is. And my son was the last one to get therapy because I requested it, because I felt like he was too quiet. He was taking and holding too much in and being the man of the family. And
I think we have a technical difficulty. Gotta love Wi-Fi. LaRita, can you hear us? LaRita?
Hello?
Yeah, we got you back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we got you. All right. Now, once your children were diagnosed with these issues, and you yourself were diagnosed with these issues, have you been able to get continual counseling?
Yeah. Being in the shelter system, because I was proactive in getting help for me and my family. I wasn't one to sit aside and just take it. So I requested help. I needed all of us to be healthy. Like I said, me working in the mental health field for over 10 years, I felt I couldn't get help when I lived on Staten Island because I was amongst my peers. And go ahead.
I was going to ask, what type of work did you do in the mental health field? Because that's actually interesting that you worked in the field and you suffered from mental health issues. But
and
I know
knew
that
how to fight it.
Well, yeah, it's weird because I know a lot of people that work in the mental health industry, and they often have depression, anxiety, PTSD. I've heard of a few that have self-mutilation, that had an issue with self-mutilation. So what type of work did you do in the mental health industry?
I was, by title, I was a mental health aide. I helped transition mentally ill addicts back into society. We were in a transition home where we taught them how to manage their medicine. If they had issues with not knowing how to cook or clean or keep themselves clean, we were like, it was kind of like babysitting adults, but we were teaching them like you teach your children. We were teaching them how to just be self-sustaining, independent adults in society again. And that's what I did for over 10 years.
So being, when you were in the system, did you see people that were having a lot of the same issues that you were treating in your job?
You mean, of course. Of course. And, you know, to date, I can still see it on people. I notice it. I can recognize it. Yeah, as a teenager, dealing with the abuse of my stepfather and watching him abuse myself and my mother and my two brothers, I started to self-mutilate. It was like a release. That was my only control that I had. So I saw it, I recognized it, and I knew how to help them, though my title wasn't a case manager. Even though I was offered the position, I didn't want it because it was just too stressful with the paperwork. I'd rather keep the rapport with the clients. And, you know, they called me, you know, I don't know, they call me a B word. They call me the B word. They call me a cunt. They've cussed me out, but they always respected me. They called me mean, but they did what was asked of them at all times. I was never nasty. So I still have a great rapport with them when I see them in the public. I still see them and they're like, hey, Miss LaRita, you know, I still have my apartment. So it makes me proud to say, hey, I was a part of that, to help them get that independence.
Oh, wow, that's good.
A lot of them, some of them was a CPA, there was a nurse, you know, from all walks of life. And I was like, I understood. And they lost their homes too. They wound up in the street. They they succumbed to their addiction. You know what I mean? They lost everything, and they wind up in the same situation, you know?
Sure.
And I was just like, I asked them their story. I was like, wow, how did you as a nurse wind up here? Oh, you know, I had pain and I wound up taking one pill and then I got addicted and I wound up here. Some people were there mandated from jail. So it was like I dealt with all types of people in that position.
Is that a fear? Being that you said that you have back issues because of an injury that you suffered at work. Is that a fear that because of your depression and because of your injury that you may begin to abuse the pain medication that you receive?
Well, yeah, and that's why I refused every opioid they offered me. I never accepted. I've been injured for over 5 years. And when they offered me, I think I had morphine in the hospital, and that was it. They offered me, I think, Percocet. And because I saw what it did to the clients, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll tough it out. And I just took, you know, regular, they call it NSAIDs, which is like ibuprofen, Motrin, naproxen, things of that sort. And they were strong. But now I can't even take those because I had weight loss surgery. So I can't even take any of those because it'll affect my stomach. So I had to move into the muscle relaxer and nerve medications, but I still had to steer away from Percocets and any opioids, which is not easy because the pain is chronic.
Do you think that the stress of losing the home and just the stresses of life along with the depression led to the weight gain?
No, I didn't know how to back away from my plate. You know,
I think that's all of us. So
I was an athlete. I was 160 pounds in my youth, and I just steadily gained weight with my kids. And at my highest, I was 371. You know, so losing my home, losing my health is what added 40 pounds onto my weight when I initially got hurt. Losing the home, I don't think I ate. I think it had the opposite effect. I stopped eating.
Okay.
I wound up not eating anything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would try to save and be like, okay, let me make sure the kids eat. And they're like, Ma, you not hungry? I'm like, no, I'm good. I ate before you got here. Or I would make an excuse and I would make sure they ate first. So if there wasn't enough, I always made sure they ate, period.
Sure.
Even if I had like a cup of tea, that would be my meal if I had to make that work.
Telling you're a great mom. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but you really, just from previous conversations that we've had, you're not just a great mom, you're a great person. You overcome a lot.
Yeah, I'm still overcoming a lot. Still, like I said, I didn't get therapy for all that I went through until I turned 42. 40. So 2 years ago is when my therapy started. I never dealt with it, so I just held on to it. As far as my children, I've taken the word tryout because of the business that I'm in and the family that I've gained with my company. I've removed the word try. So every time you hear me say I'm trying, I'll cut myself off and change it. But I'm not a perfect mom. Absolutely not. I don't want to curse, but I F up. You know what I mean? I definitely mess up. I mess up. I mean, it's just what it is. I felt like a failure even winding up in the shelter system. And I broke down. I said, I'm not going to cry.
It's all right.
I broke down and told my kids, I said, I feel like a failure as a mother because of where we are. You know, and it was like, Ma, it's not your fault. And I was like, but it is. Because if I was doing more, we wouldn't have wound up in the system. If I was making more, we would have had somewhere to go. If I did more quicker or better, or if I was a better person, if I was a better, I don't know, anything, we wouldn't have wound up in the system. And that's just how I felt.
I don't know if anyone's ever,
like I failed them.
I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but sometimes you have to go through adversity to get to where you need to get to where you need to be in life. If you take a look at anyone that's been in a bad situation, they had to go through hell first. Take a look at Tyler Perry.
Yeah,
take a
he's
look at
a huge inspiration.
homeless. I mean, look at Oprah. She was someone that was molested, that was struggling. So, you know, the fact that you're still here and the fact that you're still fighting, that's really big. That's believe it or not, you're my hero. What's that?
And I say it's not intentional because I was suicidal for years. Like I attempted suicide on my life plenty of times, and I was like, okay, I don't understand why it didn't work. You know, and I've been told, you know, God has another plan for you. And I was like, for what? What's my life going to mean? You know, I've been told to tell my life story. And I was like, my life is boring. Who want to hear my life is boring? Or write your book. I was like, for what? But then when I wound up in the shelter, I was given an opportunity before I got into the shelter to be a featured author to tell my story. And I couldn't get the chapter out until I landed in the shelter. So I struggled for months to write my story. But once I spent my first few months in the shelter, the chapter poured out. And, you know, before sending the chapter to be approved, I asked my kids, I said, are you okay with me putting this in? Because I put about my daughter's mutilation, and I put that we were in a shelter. And I said, your friends, if you're going to promote the book, your friends are going to see it. They was like, Ma, if they see it, that means they bought the book. That means there's money coming into the house. We're good.
Your kids are hustlers. I like that.
Yeah. So.
Well, where can people find your book? Because I actually want to read it. So. Yeah,
I'm a featured author with 3 other authors. The person who published it, world-renowned life coach, multimillionaire, Johnny Wimbrey, Les Brown. I don't know if you haven't heard of Les Brown, he's a life coach as well, multimillionaire, multiple books. He's amazing. You know, I've not met him yet, but it's just one degree of separation from meeting him. And then the other person is an astronaut. He's also a life, motivational coach, speaker, and multimillionaire as well. And I'm the feature in this book, and it's available on Amazon. Like if you look my name up, I'll pop up, and it's called Breakthrough.
Okay, so everyone, please buy this book. It's called Breakthrough on Amazon. Yeah. Look for LaRita Phelps. I'm gonna buy my copy as soon as we finish, because I'm actually super interested. Just from talking to you, you know, you inspired me just from our first conversation. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna have you on at least 3 shows. And you said no. I said no. Seriously, you're gonna be on at least 3 of my shows because you inspire me. Of course you were, but look at how great of a job you've done. You know, I don't know if you can see the comments. People are commenting right now, telling you that you're an inspiration. I hope that you understand that. You know, before we had this interview, the one thing that I said to you is that your story is going to help someone else. And I'm pretty sure that there's people that are watching this or that will watch it later that will be inspired by it, or that may have gone through what you have gone through. So, you know, keep your head up. Trust and believe. You're amongst friends right here. And trust and believe, I have some people on here. We're going to help you out. We're going to make sure you're all right. Trust me.
I mean, one thing I can say, and I put it out there because of the fact that I'm open about it with the homelessness because it's in the book. So, you know what I mean? And my kids push it. They advertise on their social media, and I didn't at first. And I was embarrassed. You know, I'm not going to say I was embarrassed, but I was like, you know, ain't nobody going to buy it. I'm just a feature. I don't have many pages, but it's my introduction to being a published author because I'm working on my story. Okay. And, it was Johnny Wimbrey who I was on his live, and I asked him a question, and he was like, hey, that was a great question. Who asked that? And he's like, LaRita Phelps. He was like, I don't know if I should say it, but yeah, I'm going to say it. He was like, she's one of my co-authors and she has an amazing story, and I can't wait to get you on my international platform to tell your story. And that kind of freaked me out. And I cried a bit because I've known of this man previously for 4 or 5 years, and he never knew who I was. But now I can walk in a room and he knows who I am. So I didn't want to fan out, but I'm like, he has reach. He's met Oprah. He's met Will Smith. He's, you know what I mean? He's been on I think it's Judge Joe Mathis. He's been on his show as a consultant. He was on Steve Harvey. So it's like, that was a big deal to me. But I'm just trying to, you know, make a difference. You know, I have goals. I want to help single moms specifically, but I'm not against helping single dads. I know what it means to hustle. I know what it means to do what you got to do to provide for your kids, even if it's compromising your self-worth at times, because you just got to do what you got to do at times. So I understand it, you know, going through the depression and being here, you know, I think I told you originally when I said, when you asked me about and I never corrected you, but I'm okay with saying it wasn't past tense. I'm still in the shelter system for almost 2 years, struggling to find a place. And it's just not easy. You know, it's not easy. And Department of Homeless Services, they don't give a damn. Once you're there over a year, they're trying to push you out. They want you out. That's what they do. They want you to get out of their place. And then I felt like where I am, the woman was stressing me out because her move out rate was low. So, or not low, but I felt like she was trying to push me out to get me off of her non-move out rate, I guess. Because again, 2 years, but I've seen people come and go. I'm like, why the hell do they why are they moving out and I'm still here? Like, I don't understand it. So we had an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
They's like, hey, you were put in a lottery and you got an apartment in East Harlem. And I was like, oh, okay, brand new building. I looked up the area. I was like, 2 blocks from Central Park. I didn't tell but 2 or 3 people because I'm like, I believe in people praying against your blessing. So I didn't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So we had it. We had the apartment number. And then all of a sudden they snatched it away and said, oh, you didn't get it. And depression hit harder. And then my aunt died suddenly. And then it hit harder. So it was a downward spiral. And I wound up getting so depressed, I had those suicidal thoughts come back. And I said, I had to talk to my son. I said, I may have to do a self-admit psychiatric 72-hour psychiatric hold because I'm afraid. When I have those crazy thoughts of hurting myself, but harming my children first. And like, I know that sounds crazy and people be like, why the hell would you hurt your kids? But I understand those mothers who killed their kids first and then killed themselves. I would never do it. The thoughts entered, but I would never, ever, ever go through it. But I understood because I'm like, if I'm gone, if I kill myself, who's going to take care of my kids? And nobody's going to take care of my kids like me. So let me take them first so that they don't have any worries. And that was thoughts I had in the past. But when those thoughts crept in June, July, I was like, oh, nah, I need help. And I spoke to my therapist and I was like, I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself. I'm afraid these thoughts are getting too strong. I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating. I didn't realize I was still self-mutilating, not cutting anymore, not scratching, but I was pulling hair in places that are unseen, to the public or whatever. And she was like, LaRita, you gotta, like, I texted her. I was like, listen, I'm having some situations right now. I need help. And she was like, if you feel you need to go to the emergency room, go. And I had to tell my son, I was like, listen, you're going to have to hold your sister down. If your oldest sister's not here, the 22-year-old, you're going to have to hold down the baby girl, because he's 18 now. I said, you're going to have to hold her down and I'll explain to her, what's going on, but I need to be healthy for them. And I work on keeping myself as healthy as possible, mentally first, because there's a stigma. People talk about females in the shelter system, females with a voucher, oh, that bum B, oh, that's that Section 8 chick. So it's a huge stereotype. So, yeah.
Well, you're none of those things. If anything, you're an inspiration. Believe it or not, the last message that just came up in the chat was, your story is very inspirational. I myself have been homeless. Our story is very similar. I just don't have kids. You have a lot of strength, and to God be the glory. Wow. I told you when we first started this that you were going to be an inspiration. And you are, and you're going to continue to be an inspiration. And we're going to work with you. We're going to find a way to get you out of this situation. Just know that you're not by yourself. You're not.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. Everyone who's been on this show knows. I will reach out to people that are on this show, people that are watching, people that I know. I'll reach out to people I don't know that well to help, my guests. I mean, because you're too talented. You're too intelligent. You're too inspirational. You've been through too much to let it end now. If you've made it through something and you're still here, it's a reason that you're still here. I used to often think about a lot of people that I've lost. People that know me well know that I've lost a lot of people that I'm very close to. And it was very, very difficult for me. And I didn't understand, why. I had a good friend of mine pass away when I was 18. And I said, she was a better person than me. I'm nowhere near as good of a person as she is, but she's going and I'm not. And someone had to say, you're here for a reason. And I say the same to you. You're here for a reason. And I think you're already walking in your purpose. And if you're not completely sure, I'm telling you, I think you're already walking in your purpose. And I think that you're an inspiration. I think you're going to continue to be an inspiration. And when you become successful, I just hope you don't forget about the small people. You come back and visit,
Always,
we could hopefully have you on the show. It's been an honor to have you on. It really has been. I look forward to working with you in the future, having you on future episodes. Hopefully your story can be therapeutic to other people again.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's one other question. What's the dating scene like when you're going through the situation that you are?
What dating scene?
Oh boy.
It's like, I mean, one guy I attempted to date, he was the only one who knew.
Okay.
I was embarrassed. Like, how could you date someone and you're in a shelter? Like, no, you can't get any visitors. Visitors aren't permitted. A curfew, like you can't spend the night. Like I just never, just one time I attempted to date, and it was, because I was a friend with him first. I was friends with him first and foremost, so I didn't feel uncomfortable talking to him about what my situation was. At first I was, and I didn't want to tell him. And when I told him, he was like, why the hell you ain't tell me? Why would you hide that from me? And I was like, because I'm embarrassed. Like, that's not something, you feel like you're not bringing anything to the table. So, like, again, it's a stigma. You know what I mean? You don't want to be seen as weak. You don't want to be seen as less than. And I'm a person who wants to feel like I'm bringing my own table. Forget bringing something to the table. I'm going to bring my own table settings. And
I think you froze again. We're gonna get you back in. It's gonna take a couple of seconds. Looks like it's that New York City Wi-Fi that I don't miss. LaRita, you still there?
My great grandchildren.
There we go. All right. Well, yeah. I think that I might have messed up by telling guys that you're single, because everybody's probably going to be reaching out to me now, asking, "Can you give me LaRita's number? Can we try to set up a date with LaRita?" So just letting you know, sorry ahead of time, because a lot of guys are probably going to be asking you for numbers and for dates now. I apologize.
I got bulldogs. My bodyguards ain't gonna let that rock. My kids are bodyguards. My Rockwallers.
I
and
believe
the worst one is the 11-year-old. She's like, excuse me, why are you talking to my mother? Do I know you? What's your background? I think I was talking to the guy. She's like, do I know him? What does he do for a living? Does he go to church? Oh, he goes. Wow. What church does he go to? Yeah, because we go to church. So she was asking. She was like, I don't approve. If I don't know him, I gotta question him. I was like, girl, you ain't but 11. I'm grown. She's like, it don't matter. I need to approve first.
So you got you some help. You already got you some help.
I got bulldogs.
Definitely. And you got some help here. Trust and believe, we're going to have this Q&A. And I'm pretty sure something good is going to come from this, even after this Q&A tonight. I just have faith that it's going to happen. But, I really want to thank you for coming on. Your story was amazing. It really was. I learned just from speaking to you. And we've been speaking about this for a couple of days. And then new things that I learned just from speaking to you just now. And the chat's been going crazy already. So I don't know if you can see it.
I'll go back and read it. I saw some of them. I'll go back and read it. But yeah, I'm just like, this is my first time doing anything in this magnitude as far as a podcast or speaking, other than doing a women's ministry meeting I led. And that was it. This is my first time. So like, you can't see my hands, but my hands are going crazy underneath the table with nervousness. But
you did great.
I'm a talker when I can. Yeah.
You did great. Now, is there anything else that you need to plug? I know you had your book. What's the name of your book again?
Breakthrough.
Yeah. Okay. And it's Breakthrough on Amazon.
Yes.
By Miss LaRita Phelps. I'm going to purchase this book as soon as we finish. I don't know. Who else is here is going to commit to buying one book? I'm buying at least one.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we got another one. So already you got. Got another one. We got another one. So
thank you guys.
People are going to be buying your books. We got more. People are commenting. I feel like I'm doing one of those old telethons.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Can you hang on for the Q&A?
Absolutely.
Thank you. LaRita Phelps, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
All right. We're going to get to my next guest. For those of you that have been watching the show since the beginning, or at least for a couple of weeks, you should remember my last guest, Olin McGhie. Olin and I go back years. Olin and I have been friends since high school. He's one of the most talented people that I've ever met in my life. He hates when I say that, but it's true. I remember him when he was just a young kid that we used to prank all the time and mess with. I mean, there's a few stories that I'm pretty sure he'll be mad if I tell him.
Tell everything.
I'm not going to tell about the time we threw you in a tub and threw your clothes outside and let them freeze.
I remember that.
So, again, Olin and I go back a long way. He did our Surviving the Criminal Justice episode a couple of weeks ago, which was my most emotional episode to date. I almost cried about 3 or 4 times doing that episode because it was so personal to me because of the relationship that I have with Olin. So I had to bring Olin back because Olin, you yourself dealt with homelessness.
Right.
But
So
yours
the
was
homelessness isn't as dark as the jail stuff, because I had some fun, man. A lot of fun.
Well, first off, what state were you homeless in?
I was homeless in Atlanta, so of course I always had some shit to do.
Okay. And how
So
did you?
now I'm not trying to downplay homelessness. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure.
It's very dark. It's very sad.
Yeah.
However, there are way more silly, goofy, funny stories that I got out of the whole experience than dark ones.
So you kind of use it as an inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. This is what homelessness in Atlanta is. And I don't know if I'm stepping all over your intro. Was something that you wanted to say?
Well, yeah, just a couple of quick questions before we get to that. I promise you I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
Now, how did you become homeless?
Well, there's a lot of situations where people end up homeless because they're on drugs, alcohol. They deal with severe mental health issues or something like that. But and that's usually the reason why a lot of people get stuck in the system for a long period of time.
Sure.
Because the system is actually a huge hustle, and I noticed this is that these people, they collect signatures from these clients, and they just start racking up on government funding. And so if they lose a client, then they lose their money. So they don't want you to get out of the system. They need you to still be homeless. And that's what happened to me. It was like I was living out. I got a circumstantial situation where it's like I got released from jail, and because I got released from jail, because I had gotten locked up several times prior to that, the person who my grandmother was married to at the time thought that I was some kind of juvenile delinquent or some kind of like degenerate. And I never smoked. I never, did drugs. I never really had a lot of wild, parties and nothing like that. I was kind of a good boy, but I just have wild energy, but I'm not like a bad guy. Like I don't do bad things, So
now, how old were you about when you were homeless?
Like 18, 19, you know what I'm saying? So the
Okay,
only
18.
reason why I was homeless was because, my grandmother's husband didn't want me to live with him. It was my first time being in Georgia. And my aunt let me live with her for a little bit, but she had just gotten married and she really didn't want, to have some kid in her house with her newlywed situation going on, So I went to the downtown Atlanta homeless shelters.
Now, when you were in these shelters, was it just like one big room, or were they separate rooms? Were they, small, I guess, dormitory type rooms?
So there's several different levels of homelessness in Atlanta. The first level is the overflow.
Okay.
And it's just like pack them in like, wild animals, like cattle, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As many people as you could squeeze in this general overflow section. It's just a general section, right?
Okay.
That's the first level. That's the lowest rung. The second rung is the upper level in the general big population of people where the early birds get the worm. So pretty much anybody who comes in the 4 or 5 p.m. is going to get access to a bed. It could be a bunk bed, top bunk, bottom bunk, right? And all the bunk beds are like spread across, right? Then the next tier of homelessness is the transitional housing program, right? So basically, it's the same thing as a shelter program, except that your bed is guaranteed. In the overflow places, the beds, you might not get a bed,
Okay.
The next level is the transitional housing program, which is like, pretty much like this. You get access to church, food, workouts in some places, school for some places, always guaranteed a bed. And then they take a small fee out of like whatever money you make, like a check or something. If you get an unemployment check or a mental health check or a disability check, they take a portion of that to offset the fees that they need to be able to run a program like that. So they combine government grants with the money that they make from the clients, and they pull it all together to create a sustainable system where people can grow and get out of the system.
Okay. Now I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The next level of homelessness is, well, the lowest level before the overflow shelter is people who literally live under the bridge. Like people that just will, wherever you sleep, you sleep. If you're on the train, you're on the train and you're sleeping on the train, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you don't really want to deal with the homeless shelters. So those are the kind of levels that you can have, especially in Atlanta. In the summertime, it's really hot. So, you know, that's not a big deal to just like fall asleep right in the middle of the street.
Wow. Now, which level of homelessness were you at?
I floated in between. For a long period of time, I would just go to the overflow shelter.
Okay.
And this big, huge overflow shelter in Atlanta was called Peachtree and Pine. And it has since defunct. They shut it down. Okay. And it was called the Task Force for the Homeless. Okay. The Task Force for the Homeless was pretty much just janky production that they had, where they pretty much just like got all the drug addicts, the transsexuals, whatever they thought were like, they would all pull together in this one place. You know, alcoholics, people with mental health issues, people with disabilities, they were all just pulled into this one big place. The second you step in the front door, you can smell it. It's like everyone's like body odor, and it's just like, you know, it's just like, it's an experience that you won't forget for sure. But it's also very dangerous. People got stabbed, people got shot, people got, you know, assaulted. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen in these particular areas. People got, you know, sexually abused. There's a lot of things that can go on in these places.
So there's no one there to kind of watch to make sure that no one's being assaulted, sexually abused, harmed. There's no type of security to ensure that this doesn't happen. Or
they have security, but you have to understand that at any given night, this homeless shelter can have up to 300 or more people. Okay. So it's really hard for them to keep track of all those people, you know?
Okay.
Another thing was sometimes if you couldn't get a shelter, if you couldn't get a room. So Goodwill had a really great shelter. Salvation Army also had a great shelter. And so did this other place called the Atlanta Union Mission, which is a pretty good place. But these places are designed where there's professional homeless people. These are not like long-term transitional housing programs. These are like nighttime, day-to-day shelter. They can't guarantee you that you have a room. So at around 4 p.m., everyone lines up, okay? And the first 100 people get a bed. Everyone else goes into the basic overflow, right? So you got to think about it like this. If you want a job, right, and you want to really start getting your life together, how are you going to be at this shelter at 3 o'clock to get in line?
Yeah.
You see, there's no way for you to really like work it. Like if you really was hustling and working, like going to work and coming home, you won't be back until like 8 or 9. But there were some shelters that had the opportunity for you to come in at 3, reserve a bed, and say, I have to go to work. And you have documents to saying that you go to work. And then after you get up at work, they'll allow you to go in past the daily curfew time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But this is very hard to get. So I was pretty much in this cycle. The difference between me and all the people that were around me is that I don't have a mental health issue per se. I mean, my issue is that I'm a difficult young man who's like kind of stupid, you know? But I didn't have a mental health issue, and I didn't have a drug issue. So I was able to get out of it just by, you know, putting some, you know, utilizing access that I was getting to my resources.
Okay. So that's how you got out of homelessness?
Yeah. So pretty much it's like this. When you're homeless in Atlanta, right? If anyone ever walks up to you in Atlanta and says, hey man, I just need some money for food, they are lying. And I can't stress enough that they are dead ass lying to you, bro. How do I know this? Because it's impossible to be homeless in Atlanta and be hungry. You know why? Because there's a lot of great there's a lot of really great churches and organizations that stay in the city, passing out food, supplies, like literally every hour on the clock. They feeding. That's what they would say. They feeding. You would have a backpack full of snacks.
So there's kind of like a hierarchy. So I guess the homeless, they all communicate with each other. So you all know where to get the food, where to get something to drink. It's kind of like you all kind of work together. Is that how it works?
Bruh, it's like the second that you're in the community, you're literally in the community. You just be like, hey, bro, I'm homeless. Where they feeding at? They'll be like, just follow me. Everybody's just so agreeable. They work with each other. They get it together. There's not really much drama. It's just like everybody's just like, let's get together and figure out how to get some food today. And literally every day was like an adventure to figure out how to get food for the day. And so if anyone's telling you that they don't know how to eat or where to eat, they're lying, especially if they look like they've been homeless for a long period of time, because everybody knows where they feed it.
Wow. Now, when you were living on the streets, what were some of the issues that you had to deal with? Did you have to deal with, lugging your stuff around, getting robbed, being assaulted, dealing with violence, being arrested? What types of issues did you have to deal with while you were homeless?
I don't know what it is about me in particular, right? But I generally don't rub people the wrong way.
Okay.
I never really got into anything. I was always remember when we was in high school, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And we was in the middle of the hood. I'm talking about thugs. I'm talking about drug dealers. I'm talking about real hood niggas that will fuck you up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever see me getting involved in any of that shit?
No.
That same personality that I had where I could be in the shits but not of the shits, where I could just kind of be around what's going on and not really be in it, where they just be oh yeah, we thugs, we hardcore, but that's just this Olin. I was able to take that same thing and put it into that homeless environment that I was in. So it was I was just Olin. Well, at the time I was NyQuil. Awesome, so pretty much when you get in the situation, they just kind of give you a nickname, And I got the nickname NyQuil because there was one situation that I got into, but I'm very good at talking my way out of trouble, right? So some dude had a bottle of NyQuil sitting on the floor, and I was talking and shit. We used to play spades all the time and blah, 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 blah. And it's oh, this is NyQuil over here. And I took the top off and I took a swig of it boom, like that. And I put the top back on and went down, right? And the dude came up to me. He was hey, man, what you doing, man? You over here drinking my medicine, yo. You gonna buy me another one. You gonna buy me another one, right? Yeah, you gonna buy me another one. Yeah. And I was bro, I'll get you another one. Don't worry about it. I had to walk with him to the store to get him another one. But the point I'm making is that ever since then, it was so hilarious to them that I had almost gotten into some kind of a physical altercation over some damn NyQuil. They just started calling me NyQuil.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, you're a man of many names. I already know of two of your names. I was there when you got it.
Right.
Now,
so every once in a while, I'll be walking in Atlanta and I'll hear someone say, NyQuil! And it's one of these homeless dudes that I used to hang with. And some of them, 10 years later, are still stuck in the system.
Why do you think that they're still stuck?
Because they don't want to do what they have to do to get right, which is eat crow. Really be humble. Be humble. Exactly. Go to your mom and be look, I'm sorry, mom, I didn't mean to do that. Can I live with y'all until I get back on my feet? That takes a lot for somebody whose ego is bigger than the city of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's you think it's that? I guess sometimes drugs, mental health issues. I'm pretty sure that probably plays a part in them still being homeless.
It's a combination of all those things. It's drugs.
Okay.
Mental health.
Okay.
Wanting to waiting to get that check, being dependent on the government. You really need food stamps. You really need to get your unemployment or your disability check, and they pretty much, a lot of them are just waiting for that check. When they spend all their money from the check, they go back in the street again.
Okay.
So they become dependent on the government, and so I could very well have been stuck in that system as well, but I found a loophole. I found a little pocket that I didn't, think would really work as well as it did.
And what was that? What was the loophole?
Okay, so there's this place in downtown Atlanta called the Safe House.
Okay.
Another great place for the homeless to gather, get food, get supplies, that kind of thing. I'm at the Safe House, and sometimes churches will come and they'll sing. They'll sing, they'll talk, they'll preach, then they'll pass out food at the end of the sermon, right? This particular day, they had two different pastors booked for the same day. So I heard this man talk about his transitional housing program, and it had gotten to the point where I was kind of looking for something different, and I had been offered some opportunities to live in transitional housing programs, but there was a weird feeling that I got from these transitional housing programs. So I asked the second pastor if I could get money. And this is something that I thought was interesting for me, because the whole time that I was homeless, I never begged for anybody for money. But But this particular day, I felt compelled by what this pastor, Greg Kennard was his name, said that day about his transitional housing program. He said, if you get in this program, over 24 hours, you'll have a place to stay. You'll have food, you'll have clothes, and you'll have a job. I said, bro, what? So you know what I did was I asked this other pastor for the money. I said, can I get money? Because I'm in Atlanta. And so this is the way that Atlanta works. You get the train or the bus, the MARTA train to the last final destination, right? When you reach that end, kind of like how the 107 would take you to New York, but you got to get a train.
For those of you that don't know, the 107 is the bus in New Jersey.
Yeah, it takes you to Times Transit. Square. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this bus, when you reach the final station, the Doraville station on the end line of the MARTA, there's a bus that will take you to Gwinnett County, which is like maybe 45 minutes away from downtown on the bus, right? This pastor gave me enough money for fare one way, okay? Mm-hmm. And I met the other pastor in Gwinnett County, which is right by the Gwinnett Technical College. And they picked me up, they took me there, they interviewed me. And like he said, within 24 hours, I had a job, I had a place to live, I had food, and I had stipend, which was the $60 that they give you every week. Mm-hmm. And I worked in their transitional housing program for about 2 years. But before I get into that, I wanted to tell you, you said that were there any situations where I got in trouble when I was out in the street? I did get arrested one more time additional while I was homeless because I had found some work and I had a little money in my pocket. And so I got some clothes and I went to a party, and after the party I got arrested. That kind of things happen, Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Another thing was there was a lot of predatory sex deviance. I might not look it right now, but at the time I was a svelte, handsome young man. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of
no, you weren't. No, you weren't.
A lot of homosexual men would make advances at me, and one time I was hungry, so I hopped in a dude's car. He went to the restaurant. We ate. Took me to his house. We watched some movies and chilled. And then he tried to make a pass at me, and I was like, "Sorry, dude, I don't do that. I'm not a gay man. I just thought that we was chilling." And he said he got mad, and he took me back to my house.
Well, at least he took you back.
I could successfully say that that now that I think about it in hindsight, that probably wasn't a good idea because he could have physically assaulted me, sexually assaulted me. But that was the only time that I had taken that opportunity. But there were several times where people would pull up to me and honk their horn. There's a lot of predators that walk around looking for these homeless men, and they'll try to get them, Wow. So that was one thing that happened to me. So that was and another time I was in a place, and they had they were kind of trying to finesse me, hey man, don't you like it here? Don't you like the TV? Don't you like the games and the food? Do you want to stay? And I was like, that's weird. So I left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. But you made it. Roughly around how long were you homeless?
So I was homeless. If you count the time that I was living in the Inspire home, mm-hmm. I would say maybe roughly about 3 or 4 years. But
so you were homeless I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but if you're talking about the time that I was out in Atlanta in the streets, that probably lasted, I really don't know. It was kind of a blur. But I would say it was a year and some change. But yeah.
So you first got homeless about 18, you said, right? Give or take?
I would say 19, 20, something like that.
So
I spent my 21st birthday in jail. So I would probably say that when I got out, I was 22, 23.
Wow. And you made it through. I
did, yeah.
Part of the reason that I had you on here is partially, well, of course, our friendship goes back so many years. Yeah. But also, like LaRita, you're an inspiration.
Thank you,
as
brother.
I've always said, you're one of the most talented people that I know. Between your singing, your dancing, your acting, your writing, your rapping. I still listen to your album all the time. The Olin extended version is still my favorite album.
Thanks. I just did a 5-year anniversary release of that album.
I know. I listen to it all the time. I was listening to Shine Tomorrow earlier. So I noticed your album is on Spotify, Apple Music. So
yeah,
folks, please listen to his albums under Spooks McGhie.
Yep. I just dropped that single Daddy, and it's taken off, and so I'm going to shoot a video for that because people really like it. So
yeah, so those who were on the last episode, you guys actually heard Olin sing. I remember when Olin used to sing in school, and we used to tell him to shut up all day. But yeah, I remember his home studio in his grandmother's attic. Yep. So this man's been talented
R.I.P. to my grandmother.
Yeah, definitely. So Olin's been a very, very talented guy for a very long time that went through a difficult time, but you made it through, and you're an inspiration for people as well. So if we have someone that's watching this that may be going through this situation, may have been in this situation, or may have someone that's going through it, what advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, if you get into a transitional housing program, you need to do everything. Like everything you can do. When I was in this situation, I was lollygagging. Like I could have done so much more. As far as like saving money, going to school, I could have had several degrees by then because I had started school. That's one of the requirements for the program. And I could tell you about it more, but just take advantage of every opportunity that these housing programs get you. If they want to help you get your ID, they want to help you get your birth certificate, they want to help you go back to school and apply for a school, do that. They want to help you, take a trade, do it. It doesn't matter if you're not interested in the trade, just do it, do something. And also focus. It's really easy to want, and no offense to your other guests, but the dating thing is like, we have these desires that we want to quell. And I think that the last thing that you should be pursuing during the time that you're in transition is any kind of romantic involvement whatsoever. You need to be focused on getting to that level. And this type of thing is a distraction. I saw myself, during my transitional housing stay, sneaking around with girl, rushing to get back before curfew. And that time that I spent, I could have been studying. I could have been, focusing,
Olin, thanks as always, my brother.
No problem.
Always like to have you on here as usual. You give an awe-inspiring, emotional. Hey, I didn't cry this time. So
no, I told you that I had a lot more fun than. No offense to anyone who's homeless, but I had a lot more fun than I did sad times.
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't seen his previous episode, you can subscribe to the Fall to Rise podcast YouTube channel. And Olin's episode is Surviving the Criminal Justice System. It's an awe-inspiring, one of my most emotional and honest episodes. So if you get a chance, please go back and look at it and download his album, which is Spooks McGhie on
Olin.
iTunes.
Waited all summer, waited all fall. And I have several albums and projects and singles and things that you guys can listen to. I also am so mad that last time I didn't mention my podcast.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yes, the Late Bloomer podcast, which is
I'm on episode number 14. Yep, and I'm about to record one as soon as I get off of here today. The Transitional Housing Program Director, Greg Kenner, the one that I was telling you about.
Yes,
he's going to be my guest, and we're going to talk about that as soon as I get off of here with you.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah. Let me know. Well, hopefully I can hop on there in time.
Bet. So, okay, find me on Tidal. That's what's up, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm on everything. Tidal, Instagram. Facebook Music, YouTube Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Pandora, whatever y'all listen to. Tell your Amazon, play Spooks McGhie. It'll probably do it. So.
Yeah, he does R&B and hip hop. If I can do a recommendation, "Shine Tomorrow" is a good song that I like.
Thank you.
"Olin" is a song that I like, and what's the one? "You're the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me." That one I love.
That song is ironic because I got divorced.
Yeah, hey, it's still a good song. But Olin, thanks a lot, my brother. Thank you. My last guest for tonight is another dear friend of mine, as you can notice with my shows. It's a trend. I usually have dear friends on here. My brother, Mike Bratton. Mike, you got to turn your mic on. You got to go to your three dots and hang on. Let me see if I can turn your audio on from here. Hang on, we're just having a couple of difficulties. We're trying to get Mike's audio queued up. All right, hang on. Let's give it a couple of seconds. We're just trying to get Mike's audio in.
Lost the picture there.
All right, Mike. All right, we got your audio. We lost your picture. You just got to hit your screen. All right, we got your picture. Now we need your audio. All right, we got one. We need the other one now. All right, so now we lost your picture. We're gonna get it up. We're gonna get it together. I promise you. Okay, we got one. Now all we need is your audio. Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can control it from here. All right. I might be able to control your audio. Okay. You should see something on your screen asking you to unmute. All right, there we. I think I got you. All right, don't touch anything.
I won't. All right, brother.
my brother Mike, how are you?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Just learning and listening.
Definitely. The reason that I wanted to have you on is because of your history of working with the homeless. You're a social worker, I believe, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're a social worker for a homeless shelter in Hoboken?
In New Jersey, I'll say that.
Oh, just in New Jersey. Okay. All right. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now,
social service coordinator as well.
Social service coordinator. Okay. Now, what does your job entail as a social worker?
What I do is I deal specifically with the homeless population.
Okay.
What I do is try to, as individuals come into the shelter system, mm-hmm. I try to give them the tools, the inspiration, and the guidance that they would need to try to get back into the swing of things as far as their life is concerned, and to try to keep them to keep their heads up, address any issues that they may have in the best way that I can. You know, it's pretty complicated, and that's one job. On the other job, I actually house the homeless population.
Okay.
And provide them with social services as well.
So with the first job, I guess, in the shelter, are you involved, I guess, with the intake process?
Yes, that's the second job.
Okay, so that's the second job. Okay. So with the second job, what are some of the reasons that you see that people are coming into the shelter or that they're becoming homeless?
Okay, I see one major thing that I see is usually when someone comes into the shelter system,
yes,
usually every bridge that was built was probably burnt down for one reason or another.
Okay.
So basically, when an individual comes into the shelter system, they're at a point in their life where they may come and say, "Sir, I need underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Can I take a shower? Can I shave?
Okay.
You know, can you help me get my birth certificate?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have any ID. I have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to start from there, then try to build them back up. You know, and
mm-hmm.
I don't deal too much in families as Sister LaRita was dealing with, but as Brother Olin was speaking on, I dealt with a lot of young brothers and sisters. Yes.
Okay. Now, with a lot,
there's no certain nationality, just a lot of young people.
Sure.
Yes.
Now, with a lot of the people that you see coming in there, are they people that are in similar situations as LaRita, or do you find that there's people that maybe have mental health issues, that they have drug addictions? What's the primary driver of a lot of the people that are going to your facilities?
Well, see, the homeless condition in itself creates mental illness.
Okay.
Specifically depression.
Okay.
You know, so depression is a springboard for other illnesses, such as the sister was saying, self-mutilation,
mm-hmm.
Bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. And then that jumps into the drug addiction part, because what happens is, being that these individuals may not necessarily have been seeing a doctor, they tend to self-medicate themselves. And then that triples the issue, so to speak, in a negative sense.
So do you think that they usually have the dependency issues with substances before they come in, or do you think that they develop once they've been homeless for a while, in your experience?
I say that most will come in with some type of substance issue, maybe alcohol, because as you progress into homelessness, you usually regress in terms of things positive in your life. Okay. So what individuals tend to do is they want to escape from that. Mm-hmm. You know, and like Brother Olin, and as Brother Olin was saying, the major thing is to come in understanding that you have to do your footwork in order to better your life. So sometimes I counsel individuals, and I was counseling a group not too long ago. And when I would show up in the morning, these individuals would be so glad to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I said, I don't understand sometimes why you are glad to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was talking, I just broke down. And I told him, I said, I want you to know that you matter,
Mm-hmm.
that you count.
Mm-hmm.
You're very important,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to do the things that you need to do in order to better your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Olin was saying, that there are individuals that could get stuck in that system for decades, man. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I work in this transportation industry. That's my main job, and I would often be in train stations at night, and you would see that a lot of the homeless there would have some types of mental health issues. I'd see some of them that were hallucinating. There was one that I'd spoken to who was a former NYPD detective, and he had a mental breakdown after he shot someone and killed them.
Yes.
This guy has the opportunity. He has somewhere to live. He can get money. He chooses not to. He'd rather live out on the streets. Something else that you've mentioned to me before is that some of them have multiple personality disorder.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, can you kind of break down what that is?
What multiple personality disorder is you may meet an individual that his name may be Leonard. Okay. You may walk up to him, and I experienced this at my everyday job quite a bit. Okay, as I said, the shelter that I work in, that I'm employed at, is a part-time position.
Okay.
I work full-time housing the homeless.
Sure.
And so I could walk up to Leonard, and I'm just using that as paraphrasing. I could walk up to Leonard and say, "Hey, Leonard," and he won't answer. And he may say, "My name is John. I don't know who Leonard is." And so, and Leonard may be a very docile person. John may be very aggressive. You know what I mean? So you have to know how to kind of navigate between the two to get this individual in the office so we can sit down and try to figure something out and get him referred to an agency where he could deal with his emotional and mental issues, because like I said, it's a person is very depressed because you have to actually admit to yourself that I'm messing up. My life is not right. And also, as the brother was saying, one major thing that you have to have is a lot of individuals that we come in contact with, they do not have the everyday discipline to progress in life. So that's why shelters are set up and transitional housing as well as set up with certain rules, regulations, curfews, what have you, to get a person used to get acclimated to schedules and rules and regulations in life.
Sure. Wow. Now, how do you help the folks out that have these mental health issues? Do you have a psychologist on site, or do they get the options or a way to receive treatment?
As I said, I can't speak specifically to where I work personally.
Sure.
But in my experience, agencies will connect with shelters and have come into the shelter, come in and greet people and offer them their services. You know what I mean?
In your experience, have you seen that people have taken the help, or are they the types, like most of society, where they say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me, I don't need any help?
That's major. I've seen some that have gone into the system. Some have started to go to agencies, and then they've given up along the way, because at each level, it takes a certain degree of discipline for the individual to do what they need to do. So, and then you have to confront issues in your life, because one of the major things, when I'm counseling individuals, I will tell them that you can look at the government, you can look at society, but when it all boils down to, you got to look at that mirror. You got to figure yourself out, what you want to do. Because that's basically where it all lies, you know, because you can get on your feet, but it's going to take some work. Like it could take the sister was saying, LaKita, it's been years.
LaRita, yeah.
LaRita, excuse me. LaRita.
I see you laughing already.
I don't want to mess the name up either, bro. I don't want to mess the name up at all.
Yeah,
but you know, as she said, she was still in the system.
Yeah.
But one thing about it, if you keep progressing to a certain level, the system will stand behind you and kind of keep pushing. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's a stigma that comes along with it as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So my bottom line is what I try to keep in mind is I understand you got there for whatever reason. My job is not to focus just on the reason you're there, but to give you the tools and the impetus to move to another level.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm pretty
focus on the negative.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the issues that you've seen in terms of people not leaving the shelters? I know that you said that it's the ego, people not willing to progress. Are there any other issues? Do you think there's maybe just complacency? Do you think that they're afraid to leave? What are some of the issues that you think have stopped people?
Some are afraid.
Okay.
There's complacency involved.
Okay.
You know, because some people have been through so much that three hots and a cot is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not good. You know, and what individuals have to do, what I notice is in the system, most shelters will help individuals start a bank account.
Oh, wow.
It's tough because at this time, because we're in the middle of a pandemic as well.
Yeah.
So it's not easy for individuals to get hired. So, you know, there's all types of jobs set up for individuals and interviews. You know, we deal with a lot of different companies in order that can get people jobs. Another thing I noticed is a lot of very well-educated people come into the shelter system as well.
Wow. Do you think that it's just them losing their jobs?
Master's degrees.
Do you think that that's just from losing jobs, or maybe they just got dumped into a quick situation?
It can be a rough situation. It could be what says so mental. Somebody could go through a traumatic situation. I've met young men, not too many females, but young men who have served this country in war and were very highly developed individuals. And because of what they've seen in Afghanistan or Iraq, they've just checked out on their families. And it's hard to get these people back. You know what I mean? So for the nicest people you would ever meet, but for whatever, I literally begged a few, like, look, would you please go and do this, man? I know this will help you. And they're like, Mike, I'm just not ready. I can't go in there. I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm good. So I'm going to stay in this park. Some of them, they won't even stay in a shelter site. They're like, I'll go sleep in the park. I don't even want to come in there.
Now,
you know,
have you seen a lot? I'm sorry. Have you seen like a lot of crime in the shelters? Have you just, again, in your experience, seen people getting robbed, beaten up, sexually assaulted? Or have you heard about it? Have you heard about?
I've definitely heard about it.
Okay.
I would think the shelters that I've come in contact with,
sure,
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
You know, and the people that I work with, they're educated in this, but they're also very street savvy. So you're not dealing with people that are not, quote unquote, not from the hood.
Yeah.
So we understand what's going on, but it can happen outside. You know, sometimes individuals could be just walking down the street. They might see something they like. It could be a bike. It could be a carriage, anything. They may just want to take it. You know what I mean? But not necessarily. I don't see a lot of crime. Not at all. Not at all. Okay. And that's because what the people that I work with and have worked with, that is set from the time you walk in. We try to provide a welcoming environment, but a disciplined environment. You know what I mean? So, and like the brother was saying, if you do step out of line, you have to go.
Yeah. Now, I know that with most shelters, I often hear that there's no drinking, no drugs. Is that an issue that you at times come in contact with? Do you think that certain people choose to stay out on the streets because they can't give up their substance issues?
Well, in my experience, we don't tolerate drugs or alcohol.
Okay.
What can happen is we will arrange for the individual to go to detox and then get into a substance abuse program.
Okay.
You know, if we see that it's done on a regular basis, but what you cannot do, because when an individual is intoxicated under the influence of something, their behavior is erratic.
Sure.
So they would come in and then this throws off the entire balance, because you're not dealing with one or two individuals. You're dealing with a room full of people.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to have one set of rules and regulations. And as I was saying before, you do not, one thing that the shelters have experienced, we do not run it as a prison. We make it a not as a jailhouse. We make it a point not to do that.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
You know?
Now, I know that just working in a shelter can be difficult, just even on the employees. Do you feel that it sometimes has an effect on you as someone that has worked in the system for, how long have you worked in, how long have you worked with the homeless in general?
Probably since 93.
So almost 30, so
27
years. So since you've worked in that industry for 27 years, do you feel that it's changed you as a person?
I'd say it's humbled me.
Okay.
Made me a hell of a lot more appreciative of things that I may have, and how fleeting these things come and go, because a paycheck can actually be the difference between you being homeless or having a place to live. You know, so it makes you understand that just the days where you get up, go to work, I don't feel like going to this place. Like, man, let me get up and go, because there's people out there struggling. I mean, really struggling. So, you know, it's taught me not to complain so much and to appreciate things a hell of a lot more. I'll tell you that.
Well, my final question is, as we all know, there's a pandemic going on right now with COVID. How does the homeless shelters and homeless community deal with that? Like, is there special precautions that have to be taken? Is there a fear? You know, do you see that the people are wearing masks? Like, the homeless?
Well, yes, absolutely. You know, if you come into a shelter, you must have a mask on. You know, if you don't have a mask, they all provide you with a mask.
Okay.
You know, there's testing going on within shelters as well.
Oh, okay.
You
so
know,
they do it.
Individuals can come in and get tested.
Okay.
Staff are tested as well. You do have to practice social distancing, and some shelters, they cut down on their numbers, as opposed to where Olin was saying how you got 200 or 300 people. They may change it to a point where they have maybe 30 come in at 1 hour, 30 more come in another hour, and everything is sterilized in between each meal. Because I've worked in shelters where we've served well over 600 meals a day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so, and hot meals, not just, and that's another thing that's changed, I think, in a lot of shelters too during COVID-19, is instead of the cooking, and what you get is you might get people that donate sandwiches and things of that nature, so that people don't have to touch anything. You know, you have to be very mindful of that.
Sure. And you say that with your other job, you work in a, I believe, housing, or what was your other job again? I'm sorry.
I actually work in a building called Bergenview Apartments.
Okay.
And every one of our residents comes from a shelter.
Okay.
And it's permanent housing, not transitional. We provide studio apartments.
Oh, wow.
And even in that setting, when people get to you, people that go through the homeless experience, they basically have a plethora of issues when they come in. You know, lack of family. You have women come in who haven't dealt with their children in years, so they're depressed and they can't figure out how to get back into their children. You have men who haven't been in communication with their children, have been incarcerated. You're dealing with HIV. It's a lot of issues going on. You know what I mean? And then some of those cases, mental illness as well, and trying to encourage people to do what they need to do in order to take their meds the right time, the right way. You know, I've been in situations where people were about to commit suicide, We were blessed enough to be able to talk them out of it, then get them to, look, you need to go in the hospital for a little while. And it usually takes 3 or 4 of these before a person will actually say, okay, I need to go in the hospital and get myself mentally back on track and get reacclimated to medication.
Oh, wow. Well, so being that you've been in this industry for 27 years, what advice would you give to someone that's going through this system or knows someone that's going through this system?
My advice would be reach out to someone. I don't care if even as weird as it may sound, walk into a precinct. As the sister was saying, walk into a church. Go to a place where there may be a soup kitchen, somewhere where people that have some type of empathy for what you're going through, that refer you to another agency. Because most people that I come in contact with that are homeless, they can't really go back home at that present time because for whatever reason, it could have been for a lot of times you're like, well, we didn't want you here or we didn't want you. But a lot of people, honestly, they've stole, hurt family members, and this is something that they've got to deal with in order to change their lives. So they got to face this. You got to face this. It's not going anywhere. So the sooner you face it, it's hard. But once you face it and you kind of accept it and embrace it, you can start to move forward because we all make mistakes.
Definitely. Mike, man, you're an inspiration. I tell you that all the time, even privately. You're an inspiration and you're a hero because, there's not a lot of people that do what you do. So I know that I said I had a final question, but this one actually is my final question. What can the rest of us or people in general do to help the homeless population?
If you know a shelter somewhere in your area, stop in and volunteer. Talk to the people. That's another big issue. These people don't talk to anyone. You know what I mean? They literally. I've gone through group sessions and I've actually said, like, who do you talk to? I said, I don't see you just sit here. You don't talk to anyone. These people talk to no one. Just to sit down and feel normal for a few minutes can go a long way with somebody. It's a tough situation.
Well, I'm definitely going to commit to doing that. I'm going to stop by one of your locations to help out within the next couple of weeks. I know my schedule's been a little hectic as of late, but I'm definitely going to be out there and I'm going to do whatever I can to help and to learn and to hopefully spread the word a little bit more so that we can get a clearer understanding of not homelessness as a whole, only homelessness as a whole, but the individuals who happen to be homeless. I think that that's
the perfect way to say that.
Yeah, we tend to just say, oh, that homeless person, instead of saying, well, that person that tends to be homeless, because we take the humanity out of it. Yes. So we need to start to humanize each other, including our homeless brothers and sisters. So I'm definitely going to be out there, and I'm going to do my part to try to help out as much as I can.
I'd appreciate it, Tyler. I mean, James.
Thanks again, Mike.
Yes, sir, brother.
Thank you.
Keep striving, man. We'll hook up. Let's talk if we can. Let's talk in the next couple of days because I wanted you to meet some other people. So if you have time, I would love for you to meet them as well.
Will do. I will make myself available.
For your platform, sir.
Anytime. Thank you. So we're gonna. Anytime. So this is what we're gonna do for those of you that are new to this show. I first off appreciate you for coming on. You didn't have to be. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here. You're listening. You're understanding. You've been very respectful. So what I do with every episode is I open it up for a Q&A. The way that I normally do it is you can raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, there should be 3 dots on your screen. And when you look at them, when you press them or click on them, it should give you an option to raise hand. If you press the raise hand button, I'll see it on the bottom of my screen and I can acknowledge you. You can ask your question. If that doesn't work, you can submit your question to the chat. And if none of those work, you can just take yourself off mute. Let me know that you have a question and I'll acknowledge you. All right. Question. So we've already got a question from iPhone.
Question. It's me, JB. It's me, JB.
Worshipful Master, how are you?
Good. Mike,
Hey, Worst, how you?
Good.
Good.
Very, very informative, man. Everybody, JB, I support you. You're doing a really good job, brother.
Thank you.
Hats off to you. Mike,
thank you.
Good job. You gave me another idea, man. So I was thinking, and we all interact and everything.
Sure.
And this is my last year trying to do this, thing for the lodge and set you guys up, to take over. Can you set something up, Mike, for us to do maybe something like in November for like Thanksgiving and Christmas? We can come in there, we can take I can get, take some funds out the lodge, we do like we do, get some money up and go to one of the shelters, buy some clothes, whatever, donate some clothes, and we can do that and also, like lunch or dinner or something. Can you set that up
Absolutely.
for maybe like Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Brother,
you know what I mean?
I'll be on that this weekend. I'll get it started.
Okay, that's, if you don't mind, that's your project. All right.
Yes, sir.
So we have something else to do besides the food bank. You know what I mean? We can do something different. I know the food bank is, that's our baby, but it's a little,
man.
you know what I mean? So we can set that up like on a Saturday where everybody, everybody's able to do. And I know Corey, I saw Corey on there. Corey is one of the participants, and Jermaine too. I don't know if Jermaine is still on, but
yeah, he logged off. But yeah, we'll all be there.
Yeah,
we'll be there.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
I don't, not to cut you off, but you know what? You probably have no idea how many homeless people you helping at the food bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see a lot of them. We see a lot of them while we're there.
Yeah.
Usually $200-$300. So,
that's major. That's major.
People.
Yeah. And in addition to doing the thing for Thanksgiving at the food bank, you know what I mean? We can do something down there as well.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right. Please, get back to me. Let me know, and I'll tell the brothers, and we'll definitely make that happen. All right.
Sir. On top of it.
All right. Thanks, Worsh.
Good job.
Love you, Worsh.
Good job. As always. Love you guys too, man.
Thank you, Worsh.
Thank you, Worsh.
Mike, you got a question from Louise. Has the link between early childhood adversity or complex trauma, including care leavers and homelessness, been explored much in the U.S.? Also, do you think the residents would want or benefit from therapy if they could be offered it weekly for free?
I would say one thing when you're dealing with the homeless population, and it's very important, is you have to gain trust. Understand? Because these people have been hurt a lot, and you have to really earn that trust. You know what I mean? So, and I do think that a lot of things do start from early childhood. I think all of us go through things in our childhood that we carry over. I have a brother, an older brother. We just went through some trauma a couple of weeks ago. It was something that happened when I was 10, and it just all came out a couple of weeks ago. You know what I mean? So, I and like I always tell, my clients that, I grew up in the projects. My mother had 6 boys, no father, never met him to this day. You know what I mean? And it's tough, man, when you got to grow up. So I think that they would accept it, but you might have to see, they may not embrace it on the first, second, or third trip. So you got to show some consistency. It's important to be consistent and not to quit on people when they fail, because failure only makes you grow if somebody can reinforce positive vibes.
Yep. Failure is first attempt in learning.
Yes, sir.
It's definitely, that's kind of why if you ever take a look at my logo, the logo is fall, and it's a flaming fist punching up to rise. Sometimes you got to go through hell and fight your way back out.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of why my logo is what it is. It's You're using that flaming fist, and you're punching back out of hell. But you can get yourself out. You can definitely get yourself out. Do we have any other questions or comments? Let me scroll through the screens because there's a few of them here. Hang on. All right, someone's taking their mic off. Legend?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, hey, welcome everybody. Definitely would like to thank everybody that came on tonight as far as with the guest, as far as like expressing your stories. Because you have 3 different stories, right? So it's like some of these TV shows you might watch, right? So you have the one person with the kids and the craziness that was going on, with her upbringing. You have the other person who, thank God he was single. I don't think he would have maybe taken it as lightly as far as the situation if there was other people to depend on. And we can all get that, right? And I can relate because all the crazy situations that I get in or have been in or whatever, I always say to myself, yeah, well, it's just me to have to worry about, And then with Michael, and thank you so much for the work that you do, brother.
Thank you.
Because, you're there helping out. And trust me, each one of those levels to me just shows just how things can change without you even knowing. It can show that you could be put through some things. Like everybody just worries about if they're going to be broke or they're not going to get that many likes on their Facebook or Instagram, or they worry about, not winning whatever contest is coming up or not getting many numbers when they go to a party. What we saw tonight, this is real life. Yeah. In an instant, you could be homeless. Yes, you could be homeless. You could be without. And it's funny how people look at you differently, whenever you're going through your downs, than the way they are ready to chime glasses and salute you when you're on the ups. Yeah. So I definitely appreciate each and every one of your stories. Olin, definitely let him know. I know you already got off or whatever the case may be. Yeah. LaRita, like you're and cause I've seen that from day one before you started telling stories. So LaRita, definitely your story is still going. That's the funny thing. So I'm sure we're gonna have, and not funny, I'm saying like it's weird because all that you've been through and where you're at right now, but you're still writing that book. So you got one book out. So I'm expecting another, issue number 2, issue number 3. So, and then I can't wait for it. So I definitely salute you for being so strong, not only going through what you was going through for yourself, but with your kids and your family.
Yes, Lord.
I don't know if you recognize how tough that is to go through. And let me put on my video here just to make sure. So, you know what I mean? Just to be respectful, right? So, like I said, that's a lot to go through. And I don't know if you even recognize, trust me, there are people that's watching this or is going to watch this. You're going to be an inspiration. And then, like I said, when it comes to Michael, like just as cool as you are, but you're out here and you're helping. You're helping us. So you're not just sitting back complaining about it. You're not sitting at home complaining about this, complaining about that. Oh, we should do this, we should do that. You're out there and you're in it. So, and definitely y'all let me know about this Thanksgiving or Christmas, help out. I'm down.
Absolutely.
But thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yo, Legend, don't leave yet because I'm going to give you a chance to plug the other shows, the other podcast, and the your play that you have coming up. Your paper. You're getting ready to be on pay-per-view, so we're going to give you a chance to plug that in a few. So
pay-per-view, right?
Thanks again,
Thank you.
Jim. Thanks, Jim.
JB, what's up, brother?
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm blessed. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
What's going on, brother?
I'm truly blessed.
Good, brother.
I'm blessed. I'm with y'all tonight, so I'm truly blessed.
And go
ahead.
with some good Wi-Fi.
Well, I'm back in the Matrix. That's one thing they have is good Wi-Fi. So I can appreciate something being back, huh?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
brother JB, you knocked it out of the park once again, brother. I
Thank
told
you.
you, you're doing some powerful work, brother. You're doing some
Thank you.
powerful work. That's why it was such a pleasure for me to be a part of it, brother. I call it
Yes.
an experience, the JB experience, for real, brother. This is so powerful what you're doing, and you're going to go far with it. And I will be right there every step of the way with you, for sure,
Thank you.
brother. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
knocking it out of the park again. It's powerful, brother. I've learned so much tonight. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to say to your guests, thank y'all for sharing it all. That was powerful. Y'all shared your souls. Y'all truly shared your souls. And Miss LaRita, I thought I heard pain in you. I understand where it comes from now, my sister. And thank you so much for being an inspiration, because you're truly an inspiration. I heard it in your voice on Al's show and a different time. But I see you had a lot to say, and you're definitely sharing it, my sister. And you will continue to write your book. You have a much bigger book that you're writing at this moment. So continue, my sister. I just have one question for you. I don't know if you're in the New York area. Are you?
I am.
You're still in the shelter in the New York area?
I am, yes.
I just want to know this. Have you ever thought about maybe moving to maybe another state where?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's just where we are, with the vouchers, getting that help, because financially I'm working on not having to depend on any system. So with the vouchers, unless it's Section 8, the voucher is limited to the state of New York. So unless it was Section 8, Section 8 is nationwide. Section 8 is closed.
I understand.
So, yeah, I have to work with what I can work with.
No, I understand, sister, and you're doing a great job, without a doubt. It's just New York might be one of the toughest states to get started or survive in, period.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
So that's why I was wondering if you have ever thought about maybe changing your location, but you're doing what you can right here. So, sister, I'm not taking nothing away.
No, I have.
Okay.
My son graduated high school. We've been through this. He's graduated high school. He's virtually in college now at HBCU.
Great.
They're closed because of COVID, but I thought about relocating to where he's gonna go. He's like, "No, Ma, stay in New York."
And what state is he going to?
He'll be in Georgia at he's a Clark Panther.
Hey, that's a great state. I mean, to start up, it's very reasonable to start up there. So I don't know. Maybe you and your son got to have another talk. But no, sister, you're powerful. Who you are, where you are right now. Had you not been where you are, you wouldn't have the story that you have. So
absolutely.
Keep it up, my sister. And I believe we're friends on Facebook now.
Yeah, we are.
If I can assist you in any way, don't hesitate, please.
Thank you so much.
I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And to the other guest, I guess he left, and I appreciate him being your friend from Atlanta. I appreciate him being so honest with his experience. He was very honest with experience, and he's very entertaining. I heard his music. He's very entertaining. So I'm sure he'll be okay. Eventually, he will be okay. He's probably okay now. So
he is.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. He has a wealth in it. And to my dear brother Michael. Brother, I didn't know you had it in you. And I congratulate you on your good work, my brother. All right.
Thank you.
You are the shepherd. You are the shepherd that's leading the way. And we do appreciate your good work, So I'm learning just how much you have inside of you. And just to piggyback on what Worsh was talking about, I don't think there should be one day. Let's start something. Let's start something through the lodge, period, that's permanent. Okay? A platform through the lodge that is permanent. Just to piggyback on work, we will start off with a day, brother, but we're waiting for you. You understand?
Okay.
A lot of talents, brother, and you're definitely a shepherd. So we will talk. We will definitely talk, and let's build something that's pretty permanent, because homelessness will not stop after this year, next year.
Right.
So it's something that should pretty much be a stable. We we will talk for sure, and we will get it started. But I'm just piggyback on what Worsh has said already. But I thank you all. You have powerful stories, and thank you for sharing. I've learned a lot tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. And for those that don't know Jim was actually on our show 2 and 3 episodes ago. I'm a Black Trump supporter episode. Those two are so far my 2 highest rated YouTube episodes, with an unexpected ending on episode 2.
I was converted.
Right. It was a twist ending. It was
definitely a twist. And LaRita and Jim's initial conversations were a little different than this one now. But yeah,
LaRita went in and she rewrote the whole program, the whole episode. That was not the way it was supposed to end.
Well, it was meant to go exactly the way it went. Who knew?
Yeah.
It wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. So it was meant to go. And LaRita and myself, it was meant for us to meet on that platform.
Definitely.
Right.
So there was a bigger reason other than the topic. There was something much more powerful than the topic.
Absolutely.
Meeting on that platform. So I'm thankful. But thanks to our brother, JB. It was powerful, my brother.
Thank you,
brother, and
continue. Will do. Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments? We're gonna have to scroll through the screens. There's a few different screens on it.
Quick comment, if I may.
Sure.
Joe. Again, I don't want to. I'm just kind of piggybacking off of what was said. I just want to thank all the guests just for being as open and honest as you were. I know I can relate to LaRita. I get nervous every time I talk publicly, so I'm right here with you. But just like everyone else has said, your story isn't done. It's still currently being written. God is with you. You said that you go to church, so you're a believer in Jesus Christ, and you know that He's right there with you, even in the midst of what you're going through. So I definitely will be praying for you, Michael. I appreciate the work that you do for the people that are going through what they're going through. I wish Olin was on here. I listened to his episode that James had. It was really, really insightful. Appreciate his honesty. And James is like my brother. I know James since we were 10 years old. Man, keep pushing this thing forward, man. Even when it's getting discouraging, even when you may feel like giving up, there are going to be times where you're going to feel discouraged. But you have a huge support system, and all of us that's here, we're here to continue to help you move this thing forward because it's needed.
Thank you, my dear brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions, comments, statements? It's like I'm still trying to run through all of the. It's a few different screens here. So if you have any questions, going once, going twice. All right. Does anyone have anything to plug? Any shows, any events? Because again, this show is not just about me. We really do want to work with each other. We want to help each other. We want to build a network to support each other. So does anyone have any events or resources that they would like to promote? All right, Legend. He's first.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
So it's funny that you mentioned it.
Sure.
Yes. So for me, myself, and I'm going to piggyback off of something, right? So September 26th, myself, doing a theater production. And obviously because of the situation going on, right now, the pandemic, everything. So it's going to be streamed live on YouTube, but we're going to be performing actually in a stage production. So it's called, it's basically called Love Under Contract.
Okay.
By Hollywood Productions. It's on September 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay.
Definitely want y'all to tune in, check it out. Also, Monday nights on Zoom, you can catch ours truly, James Brown, aka Jimmy Bone, myself, Legend Damian Simmons, DJ Just D, and James Icon Grant. We're on the Extreme Truth podcast as well. So, we're up there. So we're taking care of current events. We're doing hood classics. And then we open the floor, which obviously I got a little too open, I think, on the last episode. But like I said, it's all fun. It's all, it's just, getting that hole off your chest. We've been through a lot this year. So, it's good to be able to find a place where you could kind of lay back and just get it off your chest. So that's what we do. Also, so moving on to that, Joseph Hogue the third. Right. He said, she said. Can you tell us about that? Because I feel I've been mad because I haven't, I think the nights that the show was on, I worked, so I have not been able to catch it. And I definitely want to not only catch it, I want to come on because, like I said, my brother right here, me and Joe, we go way back. And it's like a balance thing there. So, like I said, Joe, could you please give us some information on your show, please?
Absolutely. So as Legend mentioned, we go back quite a while. I don't know how many years, man. It's been what, 15 years, maybe, something like that.
About
right. And look how much has changed.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
And so, as he mentioned, I have a ministry. It's called He Said, She Said, and it's literally about relationships. All of us on here, I'm sure, are either romantically or familially connected with people, and we all can stand to have better relationships. And so, what we do is we use the Word of God to be able to understand how we can have those better relationships. On this Saturday, we have our upcoming monthly discussion, which is held on the third Saturday of every month. This week is a really good one. It's called Am I Out of My League? It's going to address the mindset of, people feeling as though, and I believe James is just plugging the flyer that's me on the front. You can join us on Zoom. It's a really laid back conversation, non-judgmental. Like I said, ministry found me. I didn't find it. I was out here running the streets, sleeping around, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, y'all. So I know I approach it from every angle. I approach it very openly and honestly. And I encourage anybody who's interested, please look at the information on the flyer. Please join us. It's free of charge. You all can come. The times, I don't know if we have anybody outside of Eastern Standard Time, but you can always come and join us on this Saturday. And you can look me up also on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. The way that the Lord works is He gives me different words to share. And the last video was the hardest video that I shared. It was on peace. A lot of times, it kind of touches on the issues that we talked about tonight. A lot of the times in the midst of the issues that we have, it's hard to find peace. And so, a lot of the times we look at the predicament, but the peace that we find is in Jesus Christ. And so if you are interested, just look me up by my government name that's on this Zoom, Joseph Hogue III. It'll link you to everywhere to connect to me from Facebook, Instagram, and all of the above. So we hope that you join us. Me and my girlfriend Courtney leads the discussions, and we'd love to have y'all.
Thanks, Joe. Does anyone else have anything else that they need to plug? No. See, I like to try to share the wealth, open it up to everybody. For those of you that are new to the show, feel free to reach out to me on the Fall to Rise Podcast Instagram channel, Fall to Rise Podcast Facebook page. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the Fall to Rise Podcast YouTube channel. So I actually do have all of the previous episodes. So if you've missed an episode of Fall to Rise, it's been 12. So, it's pretty easy to miss them all. But if you've missed an episode, every episode is on there. Please subscribe so that you'll get an update whenever we do new episodes. And please subscribe to the Facebook or Instagram channels, because I am going to be uploading exclusive content for specifically only Facebook and only Instagram. So please subscribe to all of the channels. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's really, really a big thing for us so that we can get this word out and share the word with your friends. Reach out. If there's a subject that you want us to cover, there's no subject that's too taboo. Believe me. If you've seen any of my old shows, you will know that. And I have other shows coming up that are going to be even more taboo. I'm going to talk about domestic violence. I'm going to be talking about pedophilia in the Black community, because we know what happens, but we don't talk about it. We kind of sweep it under the rug, but we're going to dig into that. the way that some of you can help me is for my domestic violence episode. I'm actually looking for a man that went through it, where he was beaten by a spouse or hit by a spouse. Doesn't necessarily mean that you were beat up, but your spouse just put your hands on you and you had to call the police. You know, we really want to show both sides. I've already got a female that will speak on domestic violence. I don't know if she wants me to spoil it yet. It's her. Okay, so LaRita is going to be in that episode. So LaRita's going to be a regular on here. So you might as well just get used to seeing the face. But she's going to be a regular. But yeah, we're definitely going to be doing a domestic violence. But again, if there's a subject that you wanted to cover, please let me know. We're doing an LGBT episode because there's a lot about that life that I just don't understand. A lot of people don't understand either. And rather than assume or go by what someone else is saying, we're going to invite people that are in that lifestyle or in that world, and we're going to have them explain it to us. And we're going to be able to ask questions so that we can humanize each other. That's a word that you're going to hear me say quite often. One of the goals of this show is for us to humanize each other and see each other for who we truly are. So that's definitely coming up. So you can feel free to reach out to my social media pages. Again, Fall to Rise Podcast on Instagram, Fall to Rise Podcast on YouTube, Fall to Rise Podcast on YouTube. And if you wanted to email me, you can contact me at falltorisepod, POD, @gmail.com. You can definitely reach out to me. Again, if you have a subject you want to cover, please reach out to me. Please support all the guests. You know, Legend Damian Simmons, you have your play coming up, Love Under Contract. If people wanted to buy tickets, how can they buy tickets?
So it's basically on YouTube. So it's going to be a YouTube live stream on September 26th.
Okay.
So you go on there. Basically, if you want to go and you want to buy it now, then and I guess I'll find a way to put it in the chat here.
Sure.
So yeah, so I'll definitely put that there. And you'll get like the link like a few days before the actual show. So just to let y'all know, yeah, I'm trying to come for the Tony. That's what I keep trying to tell them. Like Tony Awards, that's like the right, yeah, I'm coming for the Tony, you know what I'm saying?
You'll get it, brother.
And we'll see. I don't know. We'll see, but we'll see.
Well, what I'll do is
Jimmy.
what I'll do is I'll share the flyer for the show on my social media pages. So if anyone wants to buy tickets, you'll have the option to do it because, again, it's going to be on pay-per-view, YouTube pay-per-view. I just got my email today. I'm pretty sure that Joe got his today, too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we just got our emails today for the show.
Thank y'all both.
Anytime. Extreme Truth Podcast, that's Mondays. That information is posted. Just to let you know, do not have the kiddies around for that one because the language is a little different on that one than it is on this one. It's a bit more extreme. And for LaRita,
well, especially once the yeah, I guess. Well, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna let you go to continue. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And LaRita, for your book, what's the name of your book again?
Breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
Yeah,
I remember it. Breakthrough.
And on Amazon, like if you search my name, it pops up Breakthrough, and it's 4 pictures. I'm pictured at the bottom with the other 3 authors. So when you search my name, my first and last name, I think 2 things come up, but my book is gray, and I have a red shirt. I have a red sweater on at the bottom. So, yeah.
Okay.
I posted all over my social media as well.
Okay. So
yeah,
it's called Breakthrough by LaRita Phelps. I'm actually trying to find it now while we're doing this, but yeah, I'll post it on the page so that people can purchase the book.
Okay.
But I really want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you, Olin, even though unfortunately Olin had to sign up to do his other show. I'd like to thank Mike for coming on. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. You really didn't have to be here, and I appreciate you for coming on. Please show up next Wednesday. I'll be posting content for next week's show. We may do a part 2 of this. We'll see. But definitely please reach out to me on social media. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely reach out. For those of you that wanted to know what the book looks like, this is Breakthrough. This is what Breakthrough looks like. I was able to find it last minute. So definitely please support all of the guests that have been on here. And Thank you. I don't know any other way to end it, but thank you. And please continue to support. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.